As you can see, we're just scraping the surface. This panel needs a ton of work before I can even think about putting it on the car, to cut it, to fit it. There's a lot of work here. So most of this episode is going to be me cutting this panel. So we should probably cut that short and not video all of it. I'm going to try. I would love to use my spot weld drill bit to drill these out. I just don't think it's going to be possible because I can't put pressure on this panel and drill it at the same time. Like, I can't. I'm going to end up denting the outside of the panel that I really don't want to do. So I need to try to do this without doing that. It's going to be fun, I'm telling you. As you can see, this panel was damaged at one point before. I can see some dents right across here. They probably were hammering on. Right here, they were using a pull tool that sticks to the vehicle to pull the dents out. And I'm assuming there's going to be more underneath here once we get this panel off. We'll be able to see more of this. But until I get that off, I can't tell. I don't see any damage like visible from here. Okay, right there I can see some. But that panel feels pretty good, so yeah. They did really good work on that. But that's going to be on my car. Nice. But anyways, after I get all these spot welds drilled out, we'll heat it, try to get it separated. Then you have this lip right here that is holding on. Now, to not damage this lip, you need to heat it enough that the panel bond separates, and then we can just smack it off of there. But what we need to do first is get every one of these spot welds out that are holding it. And I'm just going to grind them off with my little air grinder. We're going to have a lot of metal shavings here, but in the end, we're going to get the same result. You can watch as you grind these, the spot welds, you can watch the metal, and once you see a full ring around it, then you're good. So you just grind, and once you get to the spot weld, you'll start seeing a ring. And once you have that full ring visible, you should be able to separate it. So, oh man. And then I got to do this whole arch up through there. I'm going to just use my angle grinder and go to town. For those of you wondering where this body work was and that crack, and I can see through it, you can still see the crack there. But I took black silicone and filled that and then wiped it off. So that's sealed now. We didn't damage her too horribly, but we did damage her. So I am going to have to do a little bit of body work on that arch, which is almost a given. Plus, they didn't shape that too well, so I can reshape it anyways. But yeah, that was a pain. I think if I have to do another quarter panel eventually, I think I'm just going to buy a new one. Because this is the second time I've done this now, and it's the same amount of fun as it was the first time I did it. It's a learning experience, but I mean, like, if I would have just bought this panel and just had it, that would have been fantastic instead of doing all this. So we still got a bunch of cleanup work. I still got to get all those and get that trim off there, but we're at least on the home stretch. Oh my God. So that took way more time than what it looked like to you guys. That panel, cleaning that panel up, took me 4 hours. Yeah, and then the dents, like there's a dent here, and then there's a dent here. That was that impact-resistant panel bond, and it did not want to let go. And that's actually from it pulling the panel in. Now I can probably get a dolly, well, not right now, not while it's sitting here, but I can probably get a dolly and tap this out just a tad, but I don't want to go too crazy. We're gonna have to paint this whole panel anyways. I got the paint separating from me heating it in a couple spots, so we're gonna have to do some work to it regardless. And actually have the door latched right now. This is the door latched. So I don't have this lip up in here. I just wanted to make sure everything was kind of lining up. We still do have some work to do over here. Now I got this all welded up. Now, the tail light I put in because there's a hole here and a hole here that have to line up. And if you look at this, you see this gap here. This actually needs to turn in like this. So we're close, but we're not. Might just have to hammer this up a little bit. But we're in the vicinity. You can see the original spot welds there. Alright, so now I actually have the wheel arch clipped up in around this now. I'm going to have to tap some of those edges in because I have them kind of flared out on the ends, just so you can get it in place. But it's clipped in now, which is how it's going to be when we put it on. There's going to be expanding foam around this. The door's shut. It fits pretty good, minus it has to stick out up here. If I clip that around the edge there, then it throws everything off. But right now, until I get that cut right, you can see right there was my hole. You can see that all my spot welds and everything that I cut off are going to line up. This is going to drop down after I get that lined up. So I'll be trimming this one about here and this one about here, and we're going to be going across right here, and it's going to be right above that. But yeah, it's gonna be risky, okay? But we're gonna do it. So I was gonna do a template, but then I got it up far enough that these holes lined up, and I put a bolt in it, and I threaded that in by hand, and it pulled it tight. C-clamped it there, C-clamped it there. These welds are a little bit off, but they're lower, so it still needs to like raise up. So even if I do cut it, and it looks like I cut too much, I'm going to have to raise it up anyway, so I'm probably going to have to grind some off. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that and cut it. We'll go ahead and cut across here. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down at an angle so it'll leave more on the bottom panel, more on the top panel, because we're cutting like this. So we're going to have to shape it after that, but I need to get a fiberglass mat and cover all of this to protect it. But I'm going to go ahead and make the cut. Why not? So that's fit actually pretty good. It's close, but it could be closer right here. But what I'm going to do, and I had already planned this, is I'm going to cut some of this, and I'm going to back plate the bottom one. Just put that in there, just a little bit, so it overhangs underneath a little bit. So when we do put it up, it has to slide underneath this panel. But that's also going to give me backing for when I weld. And now I'm not solid welding this. There's going to be tacks, and it's going to be, you know, I'm going to have to make sure that it cools and everything. The alignment over here is really nice. And then this panel needs to be pulled out, but it lines up. Everything lines up really well. So after we get that tacked, well, there's a lot we got to do before we even go that far. That's going to be bare metal when I put it on. And it's, like I said, going to be a backing plate and go across here. So we get all of our tacks in, so it's solid. And then we need to go over this with the lead repair that I got. So we'll be burning lead onto this the whole way across, then smoothing it, and then it's going to be a full metal repair. Maybe a little bit of Bondo, maybe not, but it's going to be close. Hardest part about all this is after you get this up here, this overlays this, and then it underlays the back plate. So as you can see, I have to have it pulled out a little bit so that I can get this in here, but it works. Still lots of work to do. Oh my God. And I'm sweaty, and it's getting dark out, so that means it's getting late. So I'm going in. So I ended this episode yesterday annoyed at my decision to do this cut instead of this cut. And I know some of you said, don't do it. Take the glass out. Do it the right way. I should have. I'll just put it that way. But we're already at this point in the game, so we're going to continue. I stayed up a little bit later after I filmed. Made a backing plate for the quarter panel out of the piece that I cut off, so it already has all the bends on it. and then mounted it to the back side and spot welded it across there. So now you can see it's also got a weld through primer. I need to do just a little bit of a plate here in the corner too as well. But that makes me feel a lot better about it. What worried me is the door strikers right here. Now nothing's mounted, but whenever I open the door, which now that I put a pop rivet in here just to hold it in place, it flexes right here whenever I shut that door. Now once I get this welded, we should not have any flex there. Plus it should be a lot more sturdy. So I'm going to continue on. And there was another thing I was worried about, and it's these lines. I can't really get it mounted on there where they match up. But then I started looking at it. You notice we got a bigger gap here than down there. That's an adjustment of the door. The door just needs to be lifted. So like the quarter panel is actually correct, and the door maybe got bent down from the accident. It might have jarred the door. I can actually probably lift up on this door now and get it to fit right. On top of that, this door, or that door on that car might have been adjusted different than this door, so we can also move that striker. I just lifted the door a little bit and I actually put it pretty close. Yeah, it did. It looks pretty good. Got a lot of work to do, but I'm going to mount this in this episode. Put tail light on, got everything. This is about as close as it's going to get. I need to take it back off after I cut down here. I'm just going to go ahead and make this cut now. Where did I cut? Okay, I cut right there. So I'm going to stay right here. We're going to go down through right there, and I'm going to bring it down past this hole here. We're going to leave that hole there, the original hole, so that the side skirt lines up right. Okay, so since we last spoke, cleaned up this panel. This is a weld-through primer with copper in it. I just test welded through it. It welds way better than that other stuff I got. That 3M stuff, no. If you're spot welding, the 3M stuff worked okay. This works a lot better. This, I made a little bracket. I'm glad I'm doing this because I just test welded some areas and it works way better with backing plates. This, I'm going to spot weld in here. I'm going to have to re-drill that hole, but as you can see, I kind of cut through into it. So I'm going to get the spot welder out. That's going to get spot welded right in there, and that's going to be a good backing plate for that. All this is cleaned up, ready. This is all cleaned up and ready. Cleaned off. This expanding foam stuff is what I'm most worried about. We have to get the panel set on here and in place within like a minute. Plus, we need to do our panel bond on everything we're going to do panel bond on. So anything I'm going to do a fill weld on, like down here in this area, I'm not going to put that panel bond on. I also need to do a fill weld right here at this area. Then from there, it's going to be spot welds. Hopefully, it's going to be spot welds. Boy, I did not clean the sealant off the back side of this, so I got to go across the back of this and clean this up first, because I won't be able to spot weld that. Then panel bond on that whole lip, and then that needs to get up in the wheel well. Plus, I need to get that set up in there with that expanding foam on there. So once I get it into place, I have to hold it there tight until this sets, or else it's going to expand and push the panel out. It's a job, okay? Would have been a lot easier had I cut up there, but we're dealing with it, okay? So other than that area down there, I'm pretty sure we're ready for everything. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that up, and then I'm going to put the panel bond on, because we have a good hour before it dries that I can spot weld that. Fill welds will get later, along with spot welding that. I might put a couple tacks in it if it's lined up, just so it stays where it's at, and then put the spot welds in, because I want this to line up before anything else. So I'm going to just do a couple spot welds before I do the rest of this. Being that my garage is so clean, you would think it'd be pretty easy to find something that I just bought. No. Okay, so I misplaced the expanding foam. I don't have any other options after looking through this garage 50 times and coming up short. Nope. Nope. Thought I had it sitting on the tire machine. And it's an amazing thing that the mind can do sometimes. So I remembered I said tire machine, and I was like, maybe I put them on the wheel balancer. I did. This is a regular panel bond, which I use for other things, so don't need that right now. Okay, just fall on the ground. I got a new tube here. You know, I said you have a minute working time. It's not a minute. It says dwell time is 10 seconds. Work time is 40 seconds. I gotta get the... Oh, man. Okay. So, if I don't get it the first time, then we're gonna have a mess, because I'm gonna have panel bond everywhere. I'm gonna have to take it back off, and it's just gonna be a huge mess to do again. I did that twice on the Z. I know what I'm working with here. We're gonna try it. Alright. Camera picked the perfect opportunity to go dead while I was in the middle of putting that on, and since it was time sensitive and I had to get everything tacked and stuff before the sealer dried, it's on, and it looks pretty dang good, honestly. I still have a little bit of welding to do. I'm kind of like completely welding it where I said I wasn't going to. I'm still going to do lead over top of it, and then lead down at the door seam, but yeah, it's on there. It's solid. Now I clamped it right there because there's not a spot weld at the top there, and I felt like it should have been tighter. So with the sealant in there, or the panel bond in there, I'm thinking it's gonna set right there. Spot welded everywhere. It gets spot welded, fill welded everywhere else. My fill welds looked horrible. I'll just tell you that now. I'm gonna do a lot of grinding here in the future to make them look a lot better, especially behind this tail light. And then after I got it in there, the tail light wanted to, like, there was no gap in between here. Like, it's, you see how it's, there's a perfect gap down through here now. There wasn't. And I had to end up hammering on the back side of that panel to get it to fit. Another thing I did was that tail light has 2 pinholes that line up with the tail light. So instead of putting the tail light on there, since I had to weld everything, I put bolts that just fit those holes in there, and then bolted it together and pulled it tight, so it pulled those 2 panels together, and that really helped with me doing that. But as you can see, I got almost all the gaps filled. I got to go across here a little bit more, a couple more holes, but I was waiting for my panel to cool down as I just do a couple tacks here and there. It doesn't look wavy, but I do have a dip where it meets, and when that's where the lead's going to come in and fill that little bit of a dip. That's going to be our body filler, kind of. There will be a little bit of filler maybe, but for the most part, it's going to be lead. So the flex I was worried about is gone now that it's welded. Yes, it is dipped in across here. Lots of grinding needs to go on right here across all of this. We need to knock all of those welds down. So, yes. One thing I did successfully do, I didn't think I'd be able to do, is I didn't put a backing plate on this, and I filled this in. There's something in. Something loose inside this trunk lid. I hear it rattling. We're going to have more once I mount that wing. As you can see, tail light I have it bolted in right now just because I wanted to make sure everything fit up right. But I welded right across that edge there, and that's what I didn't know if I was going to be able to fill that or not. And I did pretty good, actually. As for the rest of it, I'm not going to show you too closely because it looks like crap. I'm assuming that those were areas that I sprayed with that other weld-through primer, or I didn't clean the paint off the back side of the panels. I'm assuming there was some paint in them, and that's why I was having some problem welding it. As for these panels, since I had them cleaned up pretty well, that welded really nice, actually. And, yeah. Still got a couple spots I want to hit again, but everything's looking pretty good. So anyways, that's going to be the end of this episode. I hit a point in this episode where I was a little discouraged and I was just ready to quit right there. Not quit on this, but just quit videoing and stuff. And there was some stuff I did off video just to get it done. But in the end, I'm happy with my results. I'm going to be even happier once I get this ground down. I'm excited to try that lead repair. I really want to try it. I want to see how it works out. So I need to make sure that this metal is as clean as can be before I even start doing that. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited too. I don't know if I got enough lead. If I had to buy more, I'll buy more. But I want to try that tomorrow. Tomorrow's Memorial Day. Yeah, I'm going to try it tomorrow. So if you like this episode, smash that like button, consider subscribing. Hit that dislike button if your mom's ready to give up on me. And we'll see you on the next episode of Alright. Hi, Sumian. Sleepy. What are you doing, jerk face?
But that was the past, and we can't live in the past. No matter how good or how bad it was. Right now, we have decided I love you because you are the best, and anyone who doesn't love you respects you because you fight and you never give up. So I'm not giving up either. I don't know what's ahead for me. But if you fight, I'll fight. Now go out there and win. Let's go!
Stella, what are you doing in here? Do you want to say bye-bye? Let me put this camera up here. Do you want to say bye-bye? Huh? Say bye-bye. No? No bye-byes from her.